What's good, everybody? I'd like to welcome you all back to the Rio West Podcast. I appreciate y'all constantly tuning in and supporting your boy. We officially up to 386 subscribers. We pushing for 400. Not one to try to push for nothing extra extravagant, just like whatever's the next smallest little milestone up. So right now we about 14 away from 400. Hopefully we can push to get that to 400 subscribers. But yeah, we back. Also trying to or not trying to, but I'm gonna go ahead and start airing or premiering the episodes on Thursdays instead of Wednesdays, and we're gonna roll forward with the Thursday scheduled date instead of Wednesday until football season. Once football season start, I'm gonna roll it back to Wednesday because I don't want to interfere with Thursday night football, because I know my viewership would be way down if that's the case, especially if I'm trying to get everybody to tune in for the premiere. So, but yeah, Thursdays is gonna be the date going forward. Again, I appreciate everybody tuning in, supporting. Try to do my best to make sure I get good content and commentary for each episode for everybody. Keep everybody tuned in and entertained. Also, again, I've said it before. If y'all interacting, tuning in whether it's the live chat or the comment section, if y'all got specific topics that y'all want me to discuss or shed some light on, please do so. Let me know, and I'll put it down on the list, and I'll give my thoughts and 2 cents in on that as well. But my first topic today, what I want to discuss is Lupe Fiasco, because for one, I want to give him his flowers. He's one of my all-time favorite artists, and I often say that when talking about my favorite artists or talking about my personal top tier artists, I don't even include him because he's in his own category of his own. Lupe is so different, so complex, that you can't even really compare anybody to Lupe Fiasco. He's one of one. He really is. And I don't know how you put him up against any other artist. He's got to be the most intelligent, most creative, most thoughtful MC that I've ever listened to in my entire life. And I dare anybody to try to bring up somebody else to compare to Lupe. He's just so complex and so unique that most don't get him. They don't understand him, and they label him as weird. And hey, Lou has a tendency to be weird, like personality wise. But who most would call weird, I would say, is just being different and being true to himself. And that's the problem with today's mindset of the people in society. And it goes back to my last episode when I was talking about the programming. Like, people are so programmed to think that you're supposed to be this one way. You're either supposed to be street or supposed to be a real one, or you're just a nerd, or you're just book smart, and those two can't coexist. Who's to say that? Who's to say that you can't be both? You can't be a real. Who's to say being a real one is just being a street dude or being somebody from the street smart, whatever that is? Who's to say that? That's nobody. That's not even like a logical opinion to have. So that's why I feel most people can't relate to Lupe, is because he is so different, so unique, and his concepts and his albums and his projects aren't necessarily something that would capture the casual eye or ear. and that's why a lot of people can't relate to him, because they think he's just weird, and that's what it is. I saw an interview Game had not too long ago with DJ Vlad. Unfortunately, I just got done talking about how Vlad needed to get canceled, but it popped up, and only reason I even entertained it was because it popped up in my feed, and it had Game's name attached to Lupe Fiasco. And I'll never forget that Game had a lyric where he specifically said ain't go weird like Lupe, and I was like, I don't even feel him for that. So I watched the interview and he was breaking down that. But again, that goes back to what I was talking about with the perception of Lupe Fiasco as being weird. And it's because of these concepts and because of the way he presents things, the way he talks about things. To the average listener, you'll listen to it and think, well, what is he even talking about? He over here talking about this, he over here talking about that. And this ain't got nothing to do with this, but little do you know that it goes way deeper than all that. He's so smart and so strategic with the way he presents himself. And again, what he does is this is what makes him even more genius. Is not only is he a genius for the double, triple, quadruple entendres that he puts in his lyrics, behind the wording he uses, which may throw people off, are these triple and quadruple entendres. But in case you can't get that and it throws you completely off, like you don't even want to entertain the song because you don't even understand or know what he's talking about, his hooks, he always has these catchy hooks, these melodic hooks that reel you in that way. So even if you don't understand what he's talking about, you'll catch yourself singing his hook because it's that catchy. And that's what's so brilliant about him, because I'll never forget it. And I think I told this story on here before. I'm not sure if I have told this story on here. I know I told it on my Foundation Live listening party. But when I first got on Lupe, before I even fully understood him, before I even fully understood that there were people in hip hop who thought this way, who operated this way, I became a big fan of his. It started off back in the day when I was coming up, when I was in high school. I first got entertained to certain artists. Like a lot of my favorite artists I started liking was I would hear them for the first time on either NBA Live or Madden. And like I would hear somebody, I would like a song, and then I would follow up. I'd go find that person and I'd start trying to follow their music. And if I felt like they made great music or music that related to me, then I would follow them going forward. And that's how I got on Budden. That's how I got on Chameleonaire. That's how I got on Papoose. I got on a lot of artists through NBA Live and through Madden and just gaming, period. And Lupe Fiasco happened to be one of those guys. So when I first got on Lupe, it wasn't Kick Push, it was Tilted. I heard Tilted on NBA Live 06. And I was like, yo, first of all, this beat code. And whoever this dude is that's on this record, he riding the hell out of it. So eventually I went to look at the tracks. I saw the name was Tilted. I saw the name was Lupe Fiasco. So I was like, man, I'm going to have to keep my ear out for him because dude nice. He really nice. His flow solid. His sound, his delivery, his cadence, the bars, his schemes, like I liked it. And this was before me even understanding what any of that meant. It was just I just thought his flow was nice. This was before me completely understanding the elements of hip hop and a delivery and verses and songs. So I logged that in the back of my mind. I never really delved in too much, but then I heard him on Kanye's Touch the Sky. And I was like, hey, that's that dude, Lupe Fiasco from NBA Live. I'm definitely going to have to check him out. Still didn't jump all the way on it. So not long later, while I was still working at my previous job, where I met one of my good friends, Malcolm. Malcolm put me on Food and Liquor. And he was like, hey, you heard that Food and Liquor by Lupe Fiasco? I was like, no, I haven't. I was like, but you know what? I like Lupe Fiasco. I heard him on a couple games. Well, I heard him on NBA Live, and then I heard him on Touch the Sky. And I was like, I really like dude. But he was like, man, I'm telling you, you should check out his album. Dude nice. I was like, all right, I'm going to do that. Little did I know that this is like going to be an all-time hip-hop classic, at least in my eyes. I got the album, and that was before I even got the album. I take that back. Before I even got to this album, I heard the instrumental on Madden. So there was Tilted on NBA Live, and then I heard Touch the Sky, and then there was instrumental on Madden. And when I found out instrumental was on Food and Liquor, I was like, oh, this is a wrap. You ain't got to tell me nothing else. So I copped the album, and when I tell you from front to back, no skips, I was amazed at the quality project that he put together. Like, this was literally a masterpiece, still is. Like, I could still put Food and Liquor on till this day and play it from front to back, and the replay value was crazy. Out rap Jay on there, and do like classics like Daydreaming, but Instrumental is my all-time favorite. I bring up this whole thing because of the instrumental. Instrumental is always one of my all-time favorite songs. So I'd slap Food and Liquor in rotation solid for like a couple years, even with all these other albums coming out. So one day I was riding with another good friend of mine, Jake. So we're riding, we listening to Food and Liquor. Keep in mind, Jake, he's a member of a band, and he's the lead singer. So the instrumental, you know, with having that kind of like alternative vibe to it, he was jamming out too. He was always a fan of hip hop as well, but we was both jamming out to it. And while we riding, he turns it down. And he was like, "Hey, you know what he's talking about, right?" And I was like, "Not really." I said, I like the sound. I like the hook. I like the way he's delivering. It's so smooth. That's the thing about Lupe. He's so smooth with his delivery and his verses. Even if he's talking like about something you don't even understand or you can't comprehend, just his delivery, his cadence and everything is so smooth and so pristine and on point. He'll capture you with that, period. So that's what I was explaining to him. I was just captured by his flow and the overall sound of the record and the perfect blend of his verses with the melodies of the singer on the hook. And he was like, he's talking about television. And I was like, huh? He's like, think about it. He said, I want you to play it back, listen to it, and pay attention. And when I tell you I played it back and I started paying attention to every word that he was saying and how he broke it down in both verses, I couldn't believe what I just witnessed. And this was like a whole year later that I had just realized this. And it made me appreciate Lupe Fiasco that much more. So basically the concept of the song is two verses. The first verse, he explains how an individual can look at a television or be entertained by a television but not want anything to do with it, because say it's for the first time he's looking at a television, he don't want anything to do with the television. He don't want nothing to do with what they're telling him to do, what they're presenting him, any of that. He just wants to figure out every way possible that he can get rid of this box. So that's the whole verse. The whole verse is, I don't want nothing to do with whatever's coming out of this box. I just want you to get rid of this box. And then it goes to the second verse. The second verse is, he sat there and he got captivated by that box long enough and influenced by that box long enough. Well, now everything the box is telling him to do, everything the box is telling him to get, he shops and he cops it. And he doesn't want anybody to take his box away, because now his life revolves around that box. So he'll do anything he can not to let anybody take that box from him. Whereas versus the first verse was, please, anybody get rid of this box. I can't figure out how to get rid of this box. I don't want nothing to do with it. Fast forward to the second verse, I don't want anybody to touch my box. This is all I got. This is all I need. My life revolves around this. And when I tell you, like, I was so taken back and mesmerized by that whole concept, like, I didn't even realize that. For a year, this was like my favorite song for a year. I constantly had this in rotation. All I could tell you was that the hook was beautiful. The melody, everything was perfect. The delivery of the verses was perfect. I just loved the sound of the song. So to a year later discover that it was way deeper than just that, that made me appreciate not just that song, but Lupe more as an artist. And it also made me look at hip hop completely different. This was before I even started doing music and everything. No, this was right around the time I started doing music. But I never fully comprehended hip hop like that. And it made me start analyzing hip hop that much more. So Then I started analyzing Jay-Z more. I started analyzing Nas more. I started analyzing Joe Budden. And all of these top tier lyricists, I started paying more attention to what they were saying. But it made me become this super mega fan of Lupe Fiasco, because it's like, damn, if that's like that, what more does he have to offer? So, and that's my point. That's my point. A lot of what Lupe says, and even with me being able to decipher, I could decipher a whole lot as far as hip hop is concerned, bars and everything, just because of my brain being trained to decipher lyrics and also write lyrics that way. So it's easier for me to capture what somebody's saying delivery wise in their verses, whether it's double, triple, quadruple entendres, whatever. But Lupe is so unique that I can't ever always catch everything he says. I probably catch about 30, maybe 40% of what Lupe says. But a lot of times his stuff is so complex, and the way he says certain things and the way he delivers certain things and hides it behind certain wording, like, you have no choice but to go watch a breakdown to completely understand exactly what he's talking about. I even had to do that here recently with his most recent song. Again, another song where I'm captivated by the melody. The beat is so smooth. His delivery is so on point, so smooth. Just, again, another one of those songs that you not really understanding exactly what he's saying, but he's flowing so smooth on it. You have no choice but to like what he's saying. And even with the hook, like the hook, another one of those hooks where it's like, okay, if you can't understand the verse, well, I got you on a hook. Well, you'll find yourself singing a hook. Like, I can't stop singing a hook. I've been singing a hook for like a week now. I can't stop. But it wasn't until when I was pulling up the video to watch the video, when I was doing some stuff around the house, I saw another video talking about it showed the thumbnail of the Samurai, and it had Amy Winehouse in the background. And I'm like, what the hell do Amy Winehouse got to do with Lupe Fiasco? So it's a guy who's breaking down the not only the Samurai single, but the Samurai album. So apparently this whole album, the concept of it is talking about Amy Winehouse if she were a battle rapper in Japan. Weird, I know, but intriguing. And that's the thing about Lupe Fiasco. Lupe Fiasco, he makes these concept albums, these concept projects, these concept songs that it might throw you off at first, but it makes you intrigued. It might not be everybody, at least for me. It makes me intrigued. Like, well, what would be the purpose behind you talking about Amy Winehouse as a battle rapper in Japan? So the guy goes on deeper, is like, basically Amy Winehouse made a comment before in an interview that where she said if she were to be a battle rapper in Japan, she would be like a samurai. Hence the reason for not just that song, but the project being called Samurai. So basically, the theme of this album is going to be based off of Amy Winehouse's life as a battle rapper in Japan, and her being a samurai in that position. So again, it may be weird to most, but that's intriguing for me. The fact that you're creative enough to create a whole concept off of a comment that Amy Winehouse made, and even the hook, what he's saying on a hook is a reference and a play off of a voicemail that Amy Winehouse had made to Salam Remy, her producer. So Lupe can take one little minuscule thing and make a whole project off of that one topic and get the most out of it. And that's what's so clever and so creative about Lupe Fiasco, is that most artists, not even just mainstream, even like underground artists, most artists, they feel like once you talked about a certain thing, there's only so much you could talk about something real or something coming up from the streets, or once you got money, like, I can't talk about that no more. I'm not doing that no more. So I have to talk about money. You don't have to talk about money. You don't have to talk about your success all the time. Just like if you were in the projects, or if you was living a normal life and you just rap, you're just an average rapper or whatever. You don't have to just talk about the average everyday stuff you can do. You literally can make a concept out of anything and present a whole project that way. And that's what Lupe does. Like, literally, you could pull anything out of thin air and be, oh, that would be creative if I spun an album around this topic and be good. Like, every project that I've done is like that. And I'm not saying I do it to the sense of Lupe Fiasco. Lupe Fiasco is a different kind of monster. But from my first album, Dreams and Aspirations, the whole topic of that, or the whole concept of that album, is the dreams and aspirations of me trying to make it from a regular underground artist to doing whatever I have to do to obtain the dream and the success of becoming a popular artist or more well known. Fast forward to El Trapo. El Trapo was a concept of, I'm gonna take these trap beats and not rap the typical trap lyrics or trap style on a beat. I'm just going to do a lyrical display of a lyrical exercise on each one of these records. And I'm gonna put that out there. So that was the concept. The concept is El Trapo. I'm getting on all these trap beats and I'm just gonna get as lyrical as possible on this project. And fast forward to the project When the Stars Align that collaborated with. The When the Stars Align, I collaborated with Mont Dog on the beats, my boy Lamont. So all of that was at the time I was still making beats behind the scenes, but I wasn't really doing my own stuff yet. But so I was doing the lyrics, he did the beats. It was two stars aligning. So basically I could have spun that any kind of way. I could have rapped about whatever, but the whole strategy behind it was two stars coming together to make this project whole. And it's basically some real life stuff, just everyday stuff on there. But the concept is us coming together, colliding. And I mentioned it a couple times in a couple of the songs on there. Sopranos and another record. So that's what that project was. And even fast forward to the project here recently that I just dropped, Foundation, which is just the concept of me not being where I am today if it weren't for the people around me, the foundation, my family, my friends, the people who help build me up and encourage me from my lowest of lows to being where I'm at now and continuously pushing me to be where I'm at today. There's concepts. You don't have to rap about the same thing. Whoever told you that, they lied to you. And that's the beauty of hip hop, is that, or that's the beauty of music, period. It's art. That's literally what it is. A painter or an artist doesn't sit up there and draw or paint the same images over and over again. He paints whatever image is on his mind, or whatever creatively is drawn to him. Whatever vision he sees, that's what he puts on the canvas, on the paper. And it's the same way with music. You can't keep expecting to sell if you're constantly putting out the same work. And that's what makes I was about to say Kanye. That's what makes Lupe Fiasco so unique, is that, so for example, his new single, his new project, I just told you, is a spin off of an interview that Amy Winehouse said, where she said if she were a battle rapper in Japan, she would be a samurai. So the whole concept of the album is going to be based off of Amy Winehouse's life as a battle rapper in Japan. Creative as hell. And I'm intrigued to hear it. I'm intrigued to see how he presents this. And this isn't the first time Lupe has done something so creative to this extent. Like, this goes back to Tattoo on Youth. Tattoo on Youth was a project that could be played from front to back. I don't know if a lot of people knew or remembered, but Kendrick Lamar's Damn was a project that could be played from front to back and in reverse. That was a big thing. Everybody recognized Kendrick Lamar for that, but what they didn't realize is Lupe did that first with Tattoo on You. It could be played from front to back, and it was in seasons. And each season, there was 4 tracks for each season. And just the concept around certain songs, and like, for example, I'm gonna pull up the lyrics on Rat Genius right now so I could read these off to you guys. So the hook on The Adoration of the Magi. First of all, the concept of that song, period. I'm not even gonna break that down. I may do a breakdown later on, at another time. But the concept of that album being based on the 3 wise men and bringing gifts and everything like that, the baby being born, baby Jesus, and all that stuff like that. You wouldn't realize that. You wouldn't understand that. Go pay attention to the 3rd verse. Matter of fact, don't even just listen to it. Go look at the video and look at the 3rd verse. All these people that come into this girl in a strip club, she's stripping. Little dude, she pregnant. She don't know that she pregnant, but the people that's coming bearing the gifts, they understand she's pregnant. And it goes way deep. It goes way deep. And like I said, literally, you could do this with every Lupe Fiasco song. There, you have to watch you either have to pull up the lyrics and break it down, looking at the lyrics and decipher it, or you have to go look at YouTube videos to watch breakdowns of it. But specifically, I'm gonna bring up specifically the hook, the chorus on that song, because the chorus is so complex. Again, it's another one of those things where if you just singing it, you just thinking it's whatever. But there's way more to it. So the chorus is, why you ready to die? You just a baby. Why them tears up under your eyes? You just a baby. Keep your head up to the sky. You just a baby. Quit chasing money, never mind. You just a baby. And then towards the end of the chorus is, why you want to be born again? You just a baby. Why you playing in them streets? You just a baby. Now, he's kind of singing and harmonizing it. And when you listen to it, you'll be sitting there singing and harmonizing with it. Not even realizing that whole hook is based off of 6 classic albums of all time. And now picture this. The first line, why you ready to die? You just a baby. Biggie Smalls cover, Ready to Die. It's a picture of a baby on the front. Why them tears up under your eyes? You just a baby. Lil Wayne's Carter 3. I think it was Carter 3. Where he got the baby picture and he got the tatted teardrops under his eyes. Keep your head up to the sky. You just a baby. Drake's Nothing Was the Same, with the version with the baby image of him looking up in the sky. Quit chasing money, never mind. You just a baby. Nirvana, Never Mind, with the baby in the water and a dollar bill in front of the baby's face. Why you want to be born again? You just a baby. Black Sabbath, Born Again. It's a baby on the cover. Why you playing in them streets? You just a baby. Nas Illmatic has the image in the background of the New York streets with his baby picture covering the top of it. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, this guy is a genius. This guy is legitimately a genius. These concepts that he puts together and delivers this artistry, these masterpieces, and it makes you look deeper into all of his music. It goes way deeper than that. Draga's Wave, the whole concept of that album is about the 4 slaves that had jumped off of that ship, the slave ship, and he's basically talking about these slaves like basically not dying once they got to the bottom of the ocean, but surviving and walking back to Africa. And it's a whole spin on basically these slaves living underwater and traveling back to Africa. And off of, the whole concept is basically off of them jumping ship. He revisits it about 3 times on 3 different songs. But it talks about what happened with them jumping ship. and then how racism is still alive till this day, the bearing that it has on society, the impact that it has on the black community, and perseverance. It all stems around that, but the concept is all around slaves jumping ship and not dying, but surviving underwater, basically living an underwater life. And he got made fun of at first about it. Even Joe Budden podcast, they was making fun of him, talking about like, oh, like it was SpongeBob or whatever. But the dude is giving you these masterpieces disguised behind lyrics and these crazy concepts. Like, even if you look at the album cover, like there's like what can I say? It's like almost like the line separates like the sky, and then like you're under the ocean. And then there's two like bands, two manila bands, which the manila was used to trade for slaves and stuff like. But when you look at the concept of it, it's like the concept is showing like the underwater, the bands, the manila being used to trade for, and also the bands, there's like 4 dots or 4 like the ends on the bands. It's almost it as if it represents the 4 slaves that jumped ship. So you can see how complex he is through his album cover. And that's what I'm saying. Lupe doesn't get appreciated enough, nowhere near enough, if at all. Like, the only people I really know that really appreciate Lupe are like diehard hip hop heads. Like, they're not the casuals. They completely understand hip hop and completely understand lyricism and the creativity, how deep it goes when it comes to MCs, underground or above ground. And they appreciate Lupe. But the casual hip hop fan who just, again, listens to what's on the radio or listens to what they think they should be listening to, they don't understand Lupe Fiasco, because they're programmed to think that that's weird and I should stay away from that. But it's really not, because that guy is really a genius. When I tell you he's gotten high praise from Nas himself, Nas even told him that he reminds him of himself. When you look and you go watch a lot of interviews with a lot of artists that talk about Lupe Fiasco, all of the artists have nothing but high praise to say about Lupe Fiasco. And this is why these concepts and everything like this is why I say I put Lupe in a category by himself. Because anybody can make concept albums, but to make the concepts he makes is ridiculous. You got to be from a different planet, a different time period, or what. But the guy is a genius. And you have to people have to appreciate. If nobody else is going to give him his flowers, I'm going to give him his flowers. And that's why I dedicated a segment of my podcast to break that down. Like, I can only say so much in a post on social media or whatever, and it can only get so far. But on this platform, I can say a whole lot more, and I can get the word out more. So I think everybody needs to take time out to really study Lupe Fiasco. Like, dude, go watch some breakdown videos. And I'm telling you, once you watch these breakdown videos and you understand, and it makes you comprehend, it'll make you see hip hop different. It'll make you see lyricism different. It'll make you hear songs different. You're going to want to analyze the songs, because in the back of your mind, it's like, okay, this is way deeper than just what's on the surface. Like when he redid Lil Wayne's Mona Lisa, and he did The Last Supper. Like, when I first heard it, again, I was like, hey, he riding the hell out of this record. And then it wasn't until like when I went to search to pull it up so I could jam it out, because I didn't have, it wasn't like one of them that was on streaming platforms, because it was like a mixtape. So when I went to pull it up one day to listen to it, I saw a video of it. And they was talking about how it was a breakdown of The Last Supper, and somebody pieced it together. And when I saw how he broke down what each person in The Last Supper was talking about, what they were saying to each other, or who, when they were talking to Jesus, I was like, this dude never ceases to amaze me. He's ridiculous. And that is why he is in a category of his own. He cannot be compared to any other artist. because there is no artist now, and there was no artist before who was doing anything remotely close to what Lupe Fiasco is doing. So shout out to Lupe Fiasco, one of my all-time favorite artists, definitely in my top 10 all time. And I think people need to show that man some more love. Give that man some more respect. That new Samurai album is supposed to be dropping June 28th. I'ma cop it. I'ma have it in constant rotation. I might not play anything else for the time being. Matter of fact, I've been enjoying all these Kendrick Lamar records that he done dropped recently. But I've been straying away from that and listening to this Samurai record on repeat. That's how much I love this Samurai record. So if you haven't checked it out, go check out that Samurai record, because when I tell you it's masterful, and I can't wait for the album to drop. I just want to see how he's gonna present this whole concept of Amy Winehouse as a battle rapper. So moving on, definitely want to talk about this whole Tom Thibodeau thing, because I mentioned it before on social media how I wasn't gonna say, like, I felt bad for the Knicks. I really did, because of them dudes fought so hard, and to even be in the position that they were in, to be competing and in a game 7 in the semifinals with down all those people that they were down. They were already down Bogdanovich. They were already down Randall. They were already down Mitchell Robinson. OG Anunoby, who had got hurt early on, and then they end up forcing him back, and it wasn't right. Then you end up losing in that game 7. You end up losing Brunson. Hart got hurt. I think even DiVincenzo had got nicked, but no pun intended. But it's just sad, because when you look at the roster that they compiled and the coach that they have, if they were fully healthy, that series probably doesn't go past 5 games. And they're liable to push the Celtics to the brink if all of their players are healthy. But the problem is health. And why is the problem health? The problem is health because of their coach. This has been a thing with Tom Thibodeau since back in the day when he was in Chicago. And I know because Tom Thibodeau is one of my favorite coaches. I know most people was like, how do you have favorite coaches? Well, I'm a basketball head. That's what I am. So just like I have favorite players and I have a favorite team, I have favorite coaches too. I have coaches that I love watching because I appreciate the way they coach the game. Of course, Popovich, my all-time favorite. Kerr's one of my favorite coaches. Thibodeau's my favorite coaches. But Thibodeau has always been like my second favorite coach to Greg Popovich, because the way he coached his team was like that old school style, grit, grind. We gonna play with intensity. We gonna play with heart. We gonna play with passion, effort. You don't see a lot of coaches coaching that now. They really just coaching these players to like coaching off of their athleticism, and it's all like catering to the players. Like Tom Thibodeau is one of those coaches. I don't cater to the players. Same thing with Greg Popovich. I don't cater to the players. I respect the coach like that. Either you gonna play how I coordinate for you to play, or you can go elsewhere and I'm gonna find somebody who will. So I always respected that about him. But one issue that he's always had is running his players into the ground. He did it in Chicago. He was starting to do it in Minnesota, but he wasn't in Minnesota long enough to completely do it the way it happened in Chicago. But now you're seeing the same thing happen in New York. So like when it was Chicago, this same style, like you got all of these players running, all these players running off 44 minutes, 45 minutes, 46 minutes, some of them playing the entire game. You saw that a couple times with Josh Hart. Excuse me. You saw that a couple times with Josh Hart this year. The same thing happened with Chicago. They started having players drop like flies. It happened with Jimmy Butler, and then completely altered Derrick Rose's career when he tore his ACL. It's wear and tear. A player can only go so much after a certain period of time. Derrick Rose tears his ACL, is never the same again. He had flashes, but he was never the same again. That ruined his career. It ruined the Bulls. Eventually, his time was up. He moved on, got another job in Minnesota. He started to turn them around, but then there was dysfunction between Jimmy Butler and then Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. So Jimmy got up out of there. Tibbs ended up going to New York. And now, over the last couple of years, he's been building New York up to the same standard that he built Chicago. The same grit and grind, the same toughness. But again, here we go. We doing the same thing. We running these players into the ground. And once they start dropping like flies, right now, it's fortunate. None of them have really had anything to like completely ruin their career, but you running these dudes so hard because he's always ran like a 7-8 man rotation, like specifically once it gets towards playoff. You can't do that. You can't do no 7-8 man rotation. These guys are going to get tired. They're going to get burnt out and they're going to get hurt. Possibly career altering injuries, if not career ending injuries. When you're doing this, you have to trust the other players on your team more. And if you don't, you need to acquire players that you can trust in that position more. Or else you're going to do this team, you're going to put this New York Knicks team in the same position you put that Chicago Bulls team in. That Chicago Bulls team was the best team in the Eastern Conference for all them years, but never could get over the hump. They never could break through the Miami Heat. And at times it was because of injuries. And at times it was because of them being burnt out. And now we're witnessing the same thing. Now, the Knicks aren't the best team in the Eastern Conference, but they were, was it the third, fourth? I can't remember what seeding they were, but they were one of the tops. And they were pushing for the top two. I'll put it like that because nobody was touching the Celtics in the Eastern Conference as far as seeding is concerned. But they're on their way. And if they add another piece this offseason, another key piece, that could put them over the top. But my thing is, you're going to have to go deeper than just your 7-8 man rotation. You're going to have to trust those guys more so that you're not putting your key guys in jeopardy of getting hurt and hindering your success going forward. 2018 hip hop. I want to bring up how great of a year of hip hop that was. And when 2018 came, and I didn't notice at the time, I really didn't. It wasn't until after that year passed and I had realized all the projects that had dropped, I realize how great of a year for hip hop that was. You had so many great projects that was released that year. I'm not talking about good projects. I'm talking about so many great projects where from front to back, you can play it without skipping. And it was amazing. It was truly amazing. Lupe's Draga's Wave. That was one. And that one is, when I put the list together, it's hard to say what's what. I kind of exclude that one because, again, Lupe is on a different level. He's in a lane of his own. But I bring it up because that project dropped that year. Lupe's Draga's Wave. That was one. You had Victory Lap by Nipsey Hussle. That was when I first became a fan of Nipsey. Before that, I wasn't really listening to Nipsey. I heard of him, but I wasn't really listening to him like that. But then I saw somebody recommended that album because I had made a post talking about the great albums that had dropped that year and how captivated by these albums and how captivated by hip hop I was this particular year. And how I don't think anybody else is talking about how great of a year hip hop this is. So when I made that post, the guy was like, you missing Victory Lap. You should add that up there. I was like, I ain't heard it, so I can't say whether I have it up there or not. I haven't heard it. But I will give it a chance since you brought that up. And when I gave it a chance, I was like, where have I been all this time? Why haven't I been a fan or been listening to Nipsey Hussle all these years? And this album is a masterpiece. That album truly is a masterpiece. And it's so unfortunate that he passed without being able to give us more great bodies of work like Victory Lap. Because when I tell you that was a masterpiece, I felt like that was his coming out party and he was about to take off. And he truly was. And I started following him even more and seeing what he was doing in his community and the things that he were talking about inside his music, outside of the violent aspect, the things he was talking about, building wealth, setting yourself up for success, all of this stuff. It made me become a fan of his, and I felt like that he was truly doing work and preaching a message that Pac would have been proud of if Pac was still around. And it's unfortunate that his life was cut short and we didn't get more music from him. But you had Draga's Wave, you had Victory Lap, you had J-Rock. J-Rock, I've always been a fan of J-Rock, but I was on like his verses more than anything. The first like project that I heard from his, I forget the name of it. Somebody had told me to check it out. I checked it out. I wasn't really that impressed as far as like a concept of an album is concerned with him. I thought he was one of those guys that was just better off dropping verses and features. And then I was told about this album. So of course that's the same album that had Win on it. And then when I copped the album, another project from front to back, no skips, I was taken back. I was like, where has this J-Rock been? Or has this always been around and I just been missing out? But when I tell you the commercial quality to it, the sound, his verses, his hooks, the features, everything is A1, front to back. Another great project. That's 3. I just gave you Draga's Wave. I just gave you Victory Lap. And then what was J-Rock's album title that year? I'm about to have to dig it up. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm about to dig it up out my phone real quick. Because I'm not gonna just say, oh, J-Rock's album. I want y'all to know, so I want y'all to go check it out if you haven't listened to it, so you can go back and listen to it. So J-Rock, Redemption. That's what it is. Look, how can I forget that? I slapped that in rotation with all these other albums that whole entire year. I don't know how I forgot it. But so J-Rock, Redemption, Lupe Fiasco, Draga's Wave, Nipsey, Victory Lap. Then you also had The Book of Ryan by Royce da 5'9", which by far like set the tone for me with Royce da 5'9" right there, because the stigma around Royce was that he's a great lyricist, and one of my favorite rappers. But I didn't have him above certain rappers just off of his project material, because his projects, he always kind of fell a little short. Like, he had songs, he had some good stuff, but it just didn't seem like he was always good at putting together like great songs, like hook wise and this and that, or the beat concepts. Like I said, he would have stuff here and there, but it wasn't nothing that was fully combined. Now his his underground bar exam mixtape series, immaculate. But again, it's mixtapes. It's really just me getting on instrumentals, barring it to death. Is what it is. Again, I'm talking about a body of work, an album, how you present it, 2, 3 verses, hooks, the beat, how all that meshes together. Like, and up until that point, I lied. Before that, he had Layers. Layers was the first one that I actually heard. I was like, okay, he can make a project, he can make an album, and I can hear the growth. So I started hearing the growth. Layers was great. I listened to Layers front to back. That was great. That was I think that was 2015. I think that might have been 2015, 2016. I can't remember the specific year. But Layers was great. But Book of Ryan was a masterpiece. Because not only was it a great album, and not only was it a great concept, it was his most personal album. It gave you a inside look at his life. And just the features, everything, the delivery on certain songs, the emotion, the intensity, then the bars on everything else, even to his features. One of my 2 of my favorite all-time favorite Royce da 5'9" songs is this one with Fab Jadakiss, Pusha T, Got the Summer on Lock, and then his record with T-Pain, which I felt like got so overlooked. If Royce was more mainstream, the song with T-Pain would have been a commercial hit. But because Royce is Royce, nobody is really giving him the attention like he deserves. But classic, complete classic. It's one of my all-time favorite albums. All-time favorite album. Definitely my favorite Royce album. And he's dropped another one since then, The Allegory. But the Book of Ryan, classic. So you had Book of Ryan, you got Draga's Wave, you got Redemption, you got Victory Lap. You also had J. Cole drop KOD. Another great project. Another masterpiece. Another masterpiece. That was another great body of work by J. Cole. Then also an underrated one that nobody knows about, but I actually became a fan of this artist. I first heard him on Book of Ryan, and he had that West Coast sound to him. So me naturally being a fan of West Coast artists and West Coast music coming up in the West, I was like, I'm gonna have to check this dude out because I like his sound. I like how he was on. Obviously, he's got the right people co-signing him if he's on Royce's project. So it's like, I'm gonna check him out. Well, it wasn't until like later on in the year where I saw he had a single with Eminem. He dropped a video for. And this is West Side Boogie, who y'all wondering who I'm talking about. West Side Boogie is his name. So he had the single with Eminem, and this single is a smash. I'm like, all right, this is what I needed to. Again, another thing, just like I did with Lupe Fiasco, another artist that I was like, I'm gonna check out, but I ain't check out immediately. It took me some time. It took the artist get my attention another way for me to pay attention to him. So at this point, when I heard the record with Eminem, Rainy Days, I said, all right, it's time for me to go cop his album. So I'll go cop his album, Everything's for Sale. And when I tell you, I was mind blown because I'm like, this is a dude I never even heard of. First of all, I didn't know until the Eminem thing, the Eminem single, and then me doing research into it that he was signed with him. I had no clue that this dude was this nice. I had never heard of him before until the Book of Ryan, and then actually delving in and digging. And when I tell you Everything's for Sale, like completely took me back, like completely took me back, I was shocked. I said, because when you listen to him, you don't think what he presented on that project was what you were going to get. You thought it was going to be like some real West Coast, like hyphy type stuff, but likable music. That wasn't even the case with this project. Like, this dude is a genius. Another one of those artists who can harmonize and have those melodic hooks and go in and out of those pockets in his verses where he get melodic and then he gets right back on top. And then his subject matter, everything that he's talking about, is real life matters that everybody else can relate to and go through. Specifically, if you're from the projects. Like, I ain't from the projects, but I could relate to a lot of the topics that he's talking about. And just the package it was presented in is like, and that was another one. And so I just told you, Draga's Wave, Redemption, KOD, Victory Lap, Everything's for Sale, Book of Ryan. There's a couple other that I'm missing right now because I'm all over the place in my head. But that's 6 right there. I don't know. Was whatchamacallit? Hold on. Give me 1 second. Let me see if this other one, before I say anything, let me see if this other one came out in see if this other one came out in 18 or if it was 19. Because if this was 18 too, I can't remember off the top. No, that wasn't. That was 2020. So that's the 2018 run. I'm sure I'm missing something else right now as I'm scrolling through my phone. Yeah, I'm sure I'm missing something else. Give me a minute. I ain't trying to like throw anybody off. Just trying to make sure I'm not leaving nobody out while I'm breaking this down to you. Okay, so Kamikaze dropped. Now, I know there's this big thing around Eminem now being trash or whatever, and he's not really saying anything. But Kamikaze was a solid project. That came out in 2018. Kids See Ghosts. How could I forget that? I had this on repeat for weeks. Kids See Ghosts between Kid Cudi and Kanye West. That was another one that dropped. Matter of fact, that whole year, Ye was dropping stuff. Because that was where they had that run where he was dropping like an album every week. Yeah, so you got Redemption, you got Draga's Wave, Victory Lap, KOD, The Book of Ryan, Everything's for Sale, Kids See Ghosts, Kamikaze. That was a great year for hip hop. And why did I bring that up? Why do I acknowledge 2018 being a great year for hip hop? Well, for one, I acknowledge it because I don't think anybody else acknowledges exactly how great of a year that was for hip hop. Now, you got your certain fans that only listen to a certain style of hip hop, a certain genre of hip hop. So a lot of these albums, they probably wouldn't entertain. They probably think I'm crazy for talking about it. But me, I'm so diverse in my ear for hip hop that I literally can listen and like anything. Again, I can listen to Nerdy Lupe over here, and I'm only saying nerdy because that's the consensus. He's nerdy, he's a weirdo, or whatever. I could listen to Nerdy Lupe over here, and I could go jump right from Nerdy Lupe, and I could be jamming out to this hardcore gangster rap from Nipsey Hussle. Because first of all, I'm from the West Coast anyways. Regardless if I'm from the streets or not, typically I gravitate towards gangster rap. Now, do I sit up there and listen to it all day? Hell no. But it definitely don't hurt me to throw it in rotation. I vibe to it. But that whole album isn't just gangster rap. That whole album is just talking about like self-worth and self-wealth, growing and doing what you need to necessary so that you're not confined to the shackles that society keeps you confined to. You build your own path, you build your own legacy. So it's a mixture of all that. But that's just me showing you, like, I can go from Lupe Fiasco, I can go from this over here to Victory Lap, to Nipsey Hussle. I'm that diverse. Like, I can listen to like some artists from Atlanta, some Southern music, not all. I'm not listening to the modern Atlanta music. Like the throwback Atlanta music, yeah, I'm tuned into it. But I'm all over the place. I can listen to any and everything. As long as you present it right and it's packaged great, I'm gonna entertain it. So to the other fans of the art, the other fans of hip hop in its truest form, you will relate to this. And if you not aware of all of these great projects, I advise you go check them out. Because you will not be disappointed. But that was such a great year for hip hop. It needs to be acknowledged. And I bring that up because when I heard all those projects that year, I had such high hopes for hip hop going forward. I thought that hip hop was going to take off and hip hop was going to be going back to being as great as it was before, back in the day. And we didn't see that. Hip hop since then has gotten so oversaturated and so watered down since 2018. It's unbelievable. And it was getting watered down up until that point, until we had that great year of hip hop. And once that year came, again, I thought that it was about to, but all we've gotten is some bodies of work here and there. We've gotten some great projects since then, but the problem is we haven't been consistently great since 2018. 2020, we had some great projects drop. You had Freddie Gibbs drop Fettuccine or Alfredo, one of them ones. I forget the name of it specifically. That was the first year I got on Freddie Gibbs like that. I knew of Freddie Gibbs, but I wasn't on him like that until that one. Then you had Nas's first project, King's Disease, with Hit Boy. You had Big Sean's project with Hit Boy. You had Benny the Butcher's project with Hit Boy. So you had Detroit 2. So 2020 was the closest we got to 2018, but it wasn't 2018. 2000 was so great. It went further than just like 5 or 6 albums. It was a lot of great bodies of work in 2018. We had about 4 or 5 in 2020. And then there was a couple more in 2021. We got Absol. Absol came back. That was a great one. Off Season was in 2021. Um, we had a few, and then follow that up Kendrick Lamar in 2022. There was a couple in 2022, but again, it's been here and there. It's been here and there, and it's slowly declined since then. So I'm hoping that the aftermath of all of this beef back and forth between Kendrick and Drake brings brings motivation to the hardcore MCs and lyricists, and motivates them to put out quality projects and get the appreciation they deserve, because now the focus is on great lyricism and great MCs in general. People are starting to see through the facades. Like I said on the last podcast, you can see a shift. It's changing with this whole, with Kendrick coming out on top and people analyzing lyrics, period, since the whole beat. Not just Kendrick lyrics, but analyzing Drake lyrics. So I'm hoping now with this new uplifting of people analyzing lyrics more, that it sheds light on the great hip hop artists that don't get enough attention, and motivates the younger generation coming up that's aspiring to be a great great MCs in hip hop. So yeah, hopefully we'll see. I want to see us get not just another year, but a couple more great years like 2018 going forward. So we in Western and Eastern Conference Finals in the NBA right now. And unfortunately, OKC got eliminated. They got bounced. And as of this current moment, Indiana lost game 1 against the Celtics. Why am I specifically bringing up OKC getting bounced and Indiana losing the first game against the Celtics? Well, I'm bringing that up in a sense that it's been a known thing that OKC is like the youngest or one of the youngest teams in the league, and they have an average age of, I think it's like 22.8 years old or something like that, or 23. I don't know the specifics. Again, I don't gather all the information I need for these subjects. I just go off the top of the dome what I'm trying to present to everybody. So that was their average age, and although their talent was by far top notch, and they've been developing and sticking to their system this whole time, the last couple of years. Same thing with Indiana. Now, Indiana's not as young. They got a few more older cats on their team. Not old, but they're a young team. Same thing like OKC. Well, I bring that up because I feel like their inexperience was the deciding factor in their series against Dallas, because there were a lot of situations, turnover-wise, and just certain IQ situations, that I feel like if they would have had some veteran leadership on that team, or a couple players that have been there and had that experience of being in conference finals, or a lot of playoff experience, or being in the finals, like even for the Timberwolves, for instance. Now, they don't have anybody on there that's like a championship caliber player, but they have Mike Conley, who's been through the grind over the years, been through battles with San Antonio, been through battles with Golden State, been through battles with the Clippers when the Clippers were at their peak with Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, all of them. So he's been in these battles, these hard fought battles. He knows what it's like to be in this moment, and that is what's helping contribute to the Timberwolves and their young roster, is that they have Conley. They also have Gobert, who Gobert hasn't had as much success as Conley has in the playoff. But that's two veterans that you're getting that leadership from. They've been there, so they can kind of advise these players. These are the certain positions and situations you need to keep yourself in. Versus OKC don't really have that. So I feel like that's what, outside of the fact that they're missing a big, their presence down low is terrible. Outside of Chet Holmgren, they're really small, so they're going to get bullied by whoever they go up against. If they were to face Minnesota, they'd have an issue, because Minnesota has Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid. All they have is Chet Holmgren. Really, they don't really have a big presence down low, like say so. But But outside of that, they were still in that series. They were still neck and neck with the Mavericks. They were battling that out. But at the end, the lack of having a big and the inexperience plagued them. It plagued them. And that's what ended up costing them. So I think going forward, if they acquire one or two more veterans and get another big or two to pair down there, you're going to need that. Because when you go up against the teams like Denver and when you go up against teams like Minnesota that have a Jokic, that have Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, you're going to need that experience going forward. And it's like the same thing with the San Antonio Spurs. I bring them up because that's my team, as I've mentioned before. But I bring that up because for years I've been an advocate for these guys to get a big. And before Wemby, every year it was like the draft. I would hope that at least through the draft we'd acquire a big. But we never did. We kept going guards. We kept going wing players. If it wasn't the guards, it was small forward. We were never addressing a big, and I couldn't understand that because in a time right now where it seems like the NBA is transitioning back to a big, heavy league, you got a lot of great bigs around this league. You're not going to win anything without having a big to go up against these other bigs. So then we finally get Wemby, but guess what? That's not enough because Wemby's by itself. Zach Collins isn't it. I've said that before. He's not it. You need another big presence. That's why I'm such an advocate for them drafting Zach Edey, or if Klingon is there, which I don't think he'll be there at 4, but somebody like that. We need another big, somebody to pair with Wemby. Because you can't, in this day and age, you can't just get by off of running guns, small ball. It's not going to work because, yeah, your pace might be up there and it'll be up to the other team to keep up with your pace. But if you ain't got nobody to stop Jokic, or if you ain't got nobody to stop Embiid, if you ain't got nobody to stop Karl-Anthony Towns, you're going to be screwed when the playoffs come. Because when the playoffs come, that's when you're going to need that big. That's when that big is going to be a key component in your success or failure going forward. And it's the same thing over here with Indiana. Not as far as the big is concerned, because they got the big bodies that they need. They probably could use another one, but it's not killing them. They got enough to get by, but they're inexperienced. Whether or not their players are mid to late 20s or not, for the most part, they're fairly young. For the most part. But also, this is like their first shot at playoff success, or any kind of resemblance of playoff success, since the Paul George days back in 2012, 2013, 14. So all of these guys are inexperienced. Even if they've been in the league for a few years, they haven't been there. They're younger, and they haven't been there before. So they could use a few more veterans that have been there. Yeah, they have Pascal Siakam, who does have finals experience, championship run. But you need more than that. You need more than that, because that showed it reared its ugly head in that game, that first game against the Celtics. All those turnovers late in that game, that's inexperience. And that's not being ready for the moment. The Celtics are ready for the moment. They've been contending the last few years. They've been to the finals. They've been to the Eastern Conference Championship multiple years over the last year. They're battle tested. They've been in this position before, and that's why they were able to show up when they weren't. So, inexperience, yeah, it's cool to have a youth movement and build your team around youth, but you also got to remember you have to have some kind of veteran presence on your team, or else you'll have success to a certain point, and then the inexperience is going to rear its ugly head. So also, when talking about NBA and talking about music, a lot of these guys are idols and role models, and I've been hard on a lot of these dudes in the past of being a good example for children, because these children look up to the NBA players. They look up to the musicians. So regardless, I feel like it's up to us to set a good example for the youth and for those following in our footsteps coming up, because they are watching us at the end of the day. They are watching us. But they shouldn't be watching us so closely to the point that they're molding their lifestyle, or they're molding what they do or how they go about their life after us. That goes back on the parents. So exactly who is raising our children today? Is it the entertainers, the athletes, the artists, or is it the parents? Are we actually taking the time out that we need to be taking at home to make sure our children are being raised correctly? Because it shouldn't all be on the entertainers. Yeah, the entertainers should hold themselves to a certain standard, but we can't sit up here and blame the entertainers 100% for the way these kids and this next generation is coming up. Because if we were doing what we were supposed to do at home, this wouldn't be an issue. This wouldn't be an issue. Now, I'm big on role models, artists, and athletes being role models. Like, I appreciate an athlete more if he's a good role model. He does everything right off the court, off the field, whatever. It makes me appreciate them more. Like, I can already be a fan of you, but I can appreciate you more if you're a good role model. If everything you do is you're good. The same with musicians. I can appreciate that. But that wasn't how I was raised. Like, if anything, a lot of people know the backstory behind me and growing up. I wasn't even allowed to really listen to hip hop like Say So. I didn't even start listening to Tupac and understanding and appreciating him until like 2001, 2002. Because I was shielded from hip hop for so long. A lot of artists and MCs I didn't know about. My parents were strict. I couldn't listen to certain. Now I would hear stuff on the radio. Of course, my brother was older than me, so, and he was always burning CDs, always burning mixed stuff. So he had the scoop on all these artists, and he would try to put me on certain stuff. So there was stuff I knew, but I wasn't really like enlightened on a lot of things as far as hip hop is concerned until I got older and I was able to look into stuff and research stuff myself. But by then, my mind was already developed to the point where I can't be manipulated by what I consume, what I hear, what I watch. It can only like make an impact on me if I feel like spiritually it's something that I should be consuming. So I was already developed because my parents had a household. They cut certain things off from us. They didn't take too much from us. They didn't shield us from too much. They had like that perfect barrier to where it molded me into the person that I am today. Like, a lot of these artists I look up to, a lot of these athletes I admire, but they aren't my life. My all-time favorite idol is my dad, my top idol, the person who I try the most to be like. Because I know if I'm like him, then I'm going to be the best version I can be as a man in life. So it starts at home, because if we're not raising these kids at home, if we're just neglecting them and letting them stay in their room with the doors locked, closed, letting TV entertain them, letting them YouTube entertain them, letting the music entertain them, well, then guess what? Yeah, now these people who are in these high positions are raising your children. Regardless of if they're in their household or in their care or not, they're raising your children. Because now if you're not there implementing what the morals and values of life that you want your child to learn and how you want them to conduct themselves, then they're going to look at these other things, they're going to hear these other things, and they're going to think, that's how I should move in life. That's how I should conduct myself in life. And it's because of this neglect in life why we have society the way it is right now. Why some of this younger generation is so rude, so disrespectful the way it is. Because they're being raised by music. They're being raised by these entertainers. And a lot of these entertainers now, in this day and age, they don't give a damn. They're going to say whatever. They're going to act however, because in their mind, it's like Charles Barkley said back in the day, I'm not a role model. So they can care less, because they reverted back on you. Like, I shouldn't be raising your child. You should be raising your child. So because all of these people are acting all wild and out the box, they can care less. If you're not doing what you're supposed to in a home, these people are raising. So again, who is raising these children? We have to do our part as parents at home for the betterment of the future of the next generation. We shouldn't rely on entertainers, athletes, musicians to raise our children. We should do our part at home as parents. Closing it out, I'm gonna talk about gaming because I'm a big gamer. I have yet to talk about gaming on here because I ain't want nobody to have any kind of preconceived notions about you, boy. But I think a lot of people that watch me, they game too. And I just want to talk about gaming because I want to let everybody know it's okay to be up in age and game. We in a different era now. Gaming ain't gaming, and gaming ain't what it used to be. Gaming ain't like gaming in the late 80s, early 90s. Or it's just Nintendo with Super Mario and Tecmo Bowl and all of that stuff like that. That was something you could easily pick up, play as a kid, put down. These games now are so in depth and so deep, and you could do so much. And just the community of gamers going back and forth, being able to interact with people on a daily. And it's a great outlet. It's a great way. First of all, it's a great way to stay out of trouble. It's a great way to stay out of trouble. If you gaming, if you on that game, if you on them sticks, you're not gonna be in nobody's street. You're not gonna be out messing over your old lady or nothing like that. You're gonna be at the crib. You know, or you can be like me and mine. Me and mine, we both game. She wasn't always a gamer. She just became a gamer like 2 years ago. We both game. So it's a great feeling. I'm here to let y'all know it is okay to game. It is okay to be up in age and game because gaming ain't what it used to be. There's so many games now outside of the sports games. Like the games I stick to is Madden, 2K. Thank God we got college football 25 coming back because that's gonna consume a lot getting shut off once that game drop. Please believe that. But I even play Fortnite with the fam, you know. But they got a lot of open world games that just like you can do so much. And also outside of like keeping you out of trouble and everything like that, there's money to be made in the gaming market right now. You would be foolish not to get involved in it. Even T-Pain came out a year or two ago and said that he's made more money just streaming gaming, and he's not even good at the game, just streaming gaming, than he made his entire music career. You got a lot of artists, a lot of music artists that's doing streaming gaming and everything now. Like this gaming is next level right now, and it's only gonna keep getting greater and greater as far as like an income source is concerned as the years go on. You'd be foolish not to get involved in it in some form. Even 2K has a gaming league. 2K has a gaming league. You basically 6 months out of the year you involved in part of it too. They have whole drafts where they pick players for each team. They got the representatives for each like NBA team. They have a gaming team. And these players, they make like, I think it's like 40 or 50,000 a year just to 6 months play 2K with these other guys that they've been drafted with in the league. E-gaming. So it's foolish for anybody to disrespect or demean anybody for gaming. We are not in the 80s, 90s, or even early 2000s. This is next level now. So it is okay to be a gamer, whether you're young or old. And there's money to be made. Stop leaving money on the table. It don't matter if you good or not. If you got people that support you and you willing to start a Twitch or Kick or whatever, and those same people that were willing to support you for whatever else it was, you get them same people to follow you and support you with gaming. And I promise you'll reap the benefits. Because right now, I done already hit my mark for followers on Twitch to be an affiliate. I just got one more thing that I got to do. I got to get my average up. Got to get that average about 3 or 4 viewers for at least a month, and then I got my affiliate status, and I'm in there. So, I mean, I'm rolling with it. Once CFB 25 drop, and then Madden, I'm gonna have ton of content. So follow my Twitch, Rio West Gaming. Follow my YouTube channel, Rio West Gaming. along with Rio West TV right here. And tune in and all that, man. It is okay. It is okay to be a gamer. Age ain't nothing but a number. And it generates income and it keeps you out of trouble. That's been my piece. I appreciate y'all tuning in to Rio West Podcast. It's been real. I'm going to catch y'all next Thursday. Again, going forward, we're going to roll with them Thursdays until football season starts. Then we're going to jump it back to Wednesdays. But it's been real. Keep streaming that foundation. Available on all ESPs. And I'll be get back at you. Peace.